This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. The military now have permission to shoot illegal loggers if necessary. Old cars could be banned as the government wants you to drive new ones. And the Navy base set up with Chinese cooperation is said to be in breach of the Paris Peace Agreement. But first, our main headline story. We here at the Khmer Times have been keeping a very close eye on illegal logging within the kingdom, and with very good reason, as the situation can only be described as desperately bad. Global Forest Watch reports Cambodia has lost over 2 million hectares of tree cover in less than a decade, a much higher percentage than even Brazil or Indonesia, and concerns are frighteningly real. Cambodia's primary forest cover fell dramatically from over 70% in 1970 to just 3.1% by 2007. Deforestation is proceeding at an alarming rate. Nearly 75% of all forest loss has occurred since the 1990s. And the cold truth is that at this rate, in less than a decade, there will be no forest left. And it is due to this desperate situation that the military now have been given the power to shoot illegal loggers if they deem it necessary. Military police have now received orders to open fire if they encounter hostility from illegal loggers. The General Commander of the Military Police and Head of National Committee for Forest Crime Prevention gave the go-ahead to shoot if necessary to try and curb these loggers. He said, "We must do more to stop illegal logging. I am ordering military police officers to step up their efforts to crack down illegal logging in the forests. No matter how many suspects, no matter who they are, arrest them all. The illegal loggers are continuing to destroy the forest. They have never been stopped, but now they must be stopped." And as a senior official, he went even further than most, for he said that illegal logging is continuing because of corrupt officials who are conspiring with loggers and facilitating these illegal operations. Now that indeed is big news, as the illegal logging trade is driven by corruption, as activists have been saying, and without addressing the corruption issue, then Cambodia will lose all its forests. The general went on to add, "Logging continues, sometimes on a vast scale, and this has been happening due to complicity between officials and illegal loggers. We can't let this go on anymore." And if that barrage of words wasn't enough, quite amazingly, he went even further, saying that anyone, including powerful people and high-ranking officials, must be arrested without hesitation if they are involved in any way with forest crimes. And his words are fully backed by the Prime Minister himself. And this is why this is our headline story. For is this the turning of the tide? Is this at long last a change in fortunes for the forests of Cambodia that have been raped and pillaged with absolutely no mercy, destroying not only the forest heritage of the kingdom, but also devastating the wildlife? Many would drop to their knees and pray that this is a real change in policy, one that would end the murderous rampage of the ecosystem by greedy, corrupt men that care not for the nation's national environmental treasures. Here is this week's Crime Desk, and what we have is a smiling Cambodian serial killer, idiotic pylon thieves, and a most gruesome murder. Have you ever wondered, how do you qualify to become a serial killer? Well, it's really quite simple. You have to murder at least 3 people, but on 3 separate occasions. You can't do that American thing, just walk into a classroom with a fully automatic rifle and gun down a load of kids. For that action would make you a spree killer. A serial killer is a different breed entirely, and this week, a man who already had 2 murder warrants against him has been arrested for a 3rd killing, this time of his father-in-law. The arrest took place in Takao province, and Takao provincial police said that the suspect was a 36-year-old man whose 3rd murder was when he beat his father-in-law to death. Previously, he had murdered 2 people in Battambang province back in 2012. But now, have a closer look at that arrest photo. There is something very unsettling about that knowing smile. Did this serial killer really go silent from 2012 until now? Or is that the smile of a knowing grin, that behind him lays more bodies yet to be discovered? Next, we have a case I knew I would cover as soon as I read the headline, and that was Gang of Men Busted for Trying to Steal an Electric Pylon. Those huge metal things that stand in fields carrying very high voltage power cables. This unbelievably idiotic gang targeted electric pylons to earn extra cash, but have been stopped in their tracks by Priya Sihanouk police. It seems these rather ludicrous thieves were removing the steel support struts to sell them for scrap, which is so unbelievably dangerous it beggars belief. The pylon purloiners were caught red-handed with 66 large pieces of electrical frame that were critical in keeping these pylons standing. And it is an absolute miracle that one of these pylons did not come crashing down, kill people, and black out a vast swathe of the country. Authorities have appealed to people. They say, please do not destroy the pylons or the power lines as they are state property, which I feel is stating the bleeding obvious. Finally, another step into the world of the unbelievable. 3 people have been arrested after an 8-year-old was found in a shallow grave. But what is incredible is the child had died 15 months prior in a road accident, and it seems the driver of the car had taken the dead child's body to cover up his crime. He then buried the kid in a shallow grave. He has been arrested, and another 2 people are also in police custody, as it is believed that members of the family helped to cover up his horrendous crime and to deny the dead girl's family closure. And, of course, the justice they so deserved when their daughter went missing. And that has to be the cruelest of all acts, to bury an innocent child on wasteland, knowing her family are literally losing their minds, worrying as to what had become of her. The government has said in the past week that the rumours and negative press about the China-Cambodia naval base are very much unwelcome, and have called the ties between the 2 countries ironclad. And a spokesman from the Communist Party of China, the CPC, has blasted those who spread the rumours about the Chinese naval base in Priya Sihanouk province, accusing them of attempting to ruin relations between Cambodia and China. So, what are these rumours that have got a member of the CPC so riled up? Well, it starts back in July of 2019, when the Wall Street Journal reported that US officials had seen a secret agreement that allowed the Chinese Navy exclusive access to about 1/3 of the Cambodian naval base for up to 30 years. And this strategic foothold is of grave concern to many other nations and may destabilise peace within the region. The Wall Street Journal reported that, if true, the access would violate both the Cambodian constitution and the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement, as it gives the Chinese government a new southern flank on the disputed South China Sea. Since then, many Western entities, including institutions and media outlets, have been digging into this issue, as they are trying to verify hundreds of satellite images. The latest example was in February at a conference in London, where Black Sky's CEO stunned his audience with intelligence photographs revealing the progression of China's secret naval base, as he referred it to. The satellite imagery from Black Sky seems to show a pier extending into deep waters, and it's long enough to service aircraft carriers. However, Prime Minister Hun Sen, as well as the Foreign Ministry and the Defence Minister, have always dismissed this claim about the existence of a foreign military base within the kingdom. And speaking to the Khmer Times, Hu Xiangming, Director General of Public Information for the Communist Party's Central Committee, dismissed this rumour on behalf of Beijing, explaining that it is simply a trick to pressure Cambodia to shrink its relationships with China. In his interview with us at the Khmer Times, he went on to call on all media outlets in both Cambodia and China to jointly fight what he says is fake news. But of course, others are pointing at satellite images and have very grave concerns as to what this means to stability within the region. And indeed, does it in fact contravene the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement? Now, here is a slightly odd one. Ministers are considering banning used cars from entering Cambodia. That is, if they are too old. We see here an awful lot of very aged trucks on the roads, and it seems that this is due to the high taxes that new vehicles accrue. I myself have just ordered a new motorcycle to be imported, and the tax is quite simply eye-watering. But is that such a bad thing? Maybe not, for high taxes of new vehicles help to fund government projects, whilst keeping the amount of new vehicles to a manageable level and not having cities drowning in cars. But unfortunately, it does increase the market for very cheap old vehicles that can be in a very dangerous state of repair. A senior minister has stated that the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Economy are now discussing and checking ways to stop entry of cars that they consider to be too old for Cambodia. He made this statement on the occasion of presiding over the opening of a new vehicle inspection centre within Phnom Penh. He said, "We will arrange to check whether a car is too old, and if it is, it will not be allowed to enter the country. We are talking about cars which are above a certain age limit. But that's where his statement ended, and it fell very short of saying what that age would be, and does it affect commercial vehicles such as trucks more than personal vehicles. And according to the Ministry of Transport, they are actively encouraging people to use new cars. But as I mentioned in the opener, the tax on new vehicles is so fearsome, the pain it brings is the equivalent of someone stubbing a lit cigarette out on your eyeball. But there is, in fact, another road, for the senior minister added that the import of electric vehicles into Cambodia has increased significantly each year, and the ministry has also made efforts to encourage investors to place more charging stations throughout the country. Now, so far, Cambodia has just 13 charging stations, but investment partners are preparing to install more nationwide. And now it's time to look at our sports news. Latest results from the Premier League, and what do we see? Crystal Palace, yay, 4-3 against West Ham. What a ding-a-ling-a-ding-dong of a match that was. Man U, boo-hoo, they managed to score one, but they still won, which is a tragedy in anyone's books. Brighton, 6 against Wolves, but what we care about is our adopted team, who got a goal. Yes, indeed, they scored a goal, but as is so common with them, Brentford, the team they were playing, scored 2 goals. So, yet again, they lost. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. The weather for the upcoming week is, well, it's all over the place. You may as well ask your hamster as to what's going on. There's rain, there's storms, there's humidity, and, of course, there's prolonged dry spells. So here's the truth, basically. You have a chart, do with it what you will, but my advice would be, look out the window. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly roundup.